Poke the Bear is brought to you by PrizePicks and the Game Time app.
And welcome into Poke the Bear, episode 284, presented by PrizePicks and Game Time Tickets. My name is Conor Ryan, and once again, we are joined by the esteemed Ty Anderson of 98.5 The Sports Hub. Ty, how you doing?
What's going on? You're going to hand me crack a drink open. It's not a beer. I feel like John Farrell when he's like, it's not an Apple Watch.
Yes.
Just my little pick-me-up today. So I'm doing great now that I have this. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. That's not the one you have, the rock one, right? Not like you're drinking like from a rock, but the one with the wrestler Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson flexing on the front of it. It's not that one.
Not only you're missing a key detail here about that cover. Not only is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson flexing his bicep on the cover, he's also wearing a Santa hat.
Oh,
it is called Dwanta's Holiday Punch. It is by Zoa. It's a cranberry and citrus flavored energy drink. And I heard cranberry and I was like, yo, I'm in. Mm-hmm. Because the greatest thing I miss, and I don't drink them anymore in general, but Red Bull used to have the winter cranberry. That was the greatest flavor of Red Bull ever made in human history. And they stopped making it. And then the Celtics had a drink. They had an energy drink it was like the official energy drink of the Celtics. And they dropped off a whole bunch at the studio. And I was like, what are these? They were like Slovakian energy drinks and they had cranberry flavored and they were great. But I was like, I don't know where to find these, so I can't have them a lot. I don't know if I don't know who brought them over.
You got to get a bulk order from Slovakia then.
Yeah, it was Slovakian or Hungarian. It was something like that. But I haven't found them since then. But I love cranberry flavored anything. And so I saw that on Amazon and I was like, I'm going to grab that. Did not know it had Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson on it. I know he owns that company, but now he's just putting a cartoon version of himself on the cover. Like, hey, man, go for it. Why not? But no, that is my Alani Nu. That is the cherry twist Alani Nu. It's my favorite flavor drink of any drink ever, in my opinion. So I love that one. It's back in stock on Amazon. It was out for a long time. Some dark days, some really troubling times, but now it's back.
Perfect. Well, I didn't know we had Billy Costigan on the podcast today with the love of cranberry juice. But listen, I'm not even gonna hate on you because I don't drink soda anymore. But I always see the ads around the holiday season for like Sprite cranberry. I'm like, I might fall off the wagon if I try one of those. So it would be very tempting.
If they got the zero sugar one, yeah, it's probably got some other chemicals that are bad for your body, but you will not have the guilt of drinking 56 grams of sugar and putting it in your body right away.
Yes, that's true. Yes, that I would say like that's probably the biggest thing. It's mostly I feel like crap when I have soda, which is a very odd thing for someone who also drinks IPAs. Like soda is
that makes no sense.
Soda is where I have to stop there, but I digress. Ty, beyond our RFK talk on corn syrup and drinks and what have you, let's talk about the Bruins, who defeated the Chicago Blackhawks 4-2 on Wednesday. They have now, for the first time all season long, have won 3 games in a row. What do you kind of take away from how they played on Wednesday and just maybe overall their recent play as of late, winning 3 games in a row?
Yeah, I think that this is a segment of the schedule where they're taking care of business. And I think that's what's most important here. I don't really care that they're beating up on Chicago and Detroit and Philadelphia and whoever else. Like, they're winning games. And that's what this team needed to do. I think the biggest thing that I take away from this little stretch here is that you're starting to see some guys come to life. You're starting to see some guys get rewarded. Charlie Coyle had 3 goals in 2 games. It's the first time he scored goals in back-to-back games. Actually, forget goals. It's the first time he's had points in back-to-back games since April of last season. Like, that's important. He's got to get going here. Morgan Geekie gets 2 goals against Chicago. Like, he's got to get going here. Now, is he miscast as a top liner? Yeah, probably. But in the meantime, he's got to start scoring. And so he's scoring. Pavel Zacha, I think, has been playing better of late. Like, I think that's what's important. The schedule is a schedule. It's how you use it to your advantage right now. And I think the Bruins are using it to their advantage to not only get points, but get guys going here that have to be important for their team and have to produce for their team. So I like it in that regard. It's they're not leaving points on the table, and we're not doing another podcast where we're sitting here going, oh, geez, Zaka hasn't scored in 7 weeks. What can they do to get him going? Like, no, these guys are starting to get going. They got to parlay that into bigger runs, yeah. But right now, they're taking care of business, which is the most important thing they can do in the immediate, the now, so to speak.
Yeah, and it's something where I think you look at. I'm sure it's not just Bruins fans, but most hockey fans in general tend to deal in absolutes quite a bit. And I think there has to be that happy medium, right, where you're like, all right, yes, this team needs to go on a larger run than what they have right now. Like the jury's still out on like how legitimate this team is, but you can also like say that it's a step in the right direction. This team feels like it's building an identity. Some guys are settling into a groove. Some of that team-wide regression in terms of shot totals or shooting percentages are improving. Things are trending up without, you can say that without being like, well, they're not going to win the cup. It's like, no,
right.
Like,
right.
Like, it's, I think just where you look at where this team was, and this is something I talked about with Evan on the last Poke the Bear we did. It's like, if you're just looking for positives, it does feel like the team is building more of an identity that I think day in and day out. And again, it's hockey. Every game can play out a different way. But it feels like going into most of these games, what their strategy or their approach is going to be. Whereas like you saw in October through early November, you're like, all right, is this team trying to be like more skill, like quick breakouts, all this kind of things? Or are they, they got Zadorov and these guys, like, are they trying to be more physical? What exactly are we looking for? And you'd have a lot of pretty lopsided results, playing out because of that. Now it feels like they're at least have a strategy or an approach of how they want to approach these games. And when you have more guys like Geeky and Zaka and Coyle starting to heat up here a little bit, again, it's not saying that we're expecting a complete breakout, but I think things are trending up without saying that they're going to win the cup. Like, just it's a process. It's a long season, and I think you're seeing more positive returns than where we were, as you said, a few weeks ago. And you should be happy about that, Bruins fans, if that's what it is right now.
Yeah, and I'm very much like Mike Felger and I agree on very few things in life. One thing we agree on is like, we got a show to do today. We have stories to write today. I can't, if we turn every game into, well, they're not going to win the cup. Okay, then let's go find something else to do because we just freed up 170 hours off our schedules. Let's go find a new hobby. You want to go start a softball team? I'm down. Let's go do that. Like, I hate
go to Slovakia, get some cranberry.
Yeah, I have the time now. I have the time because whatever, they're not going to win the cup. Okay, then what are we doing here? And one thing too, like, they beat Chicago, no big deal. Okay, I agree with you. But if they lose that game, it's a big deal, right? Now we're panicking. Now we're shitting our pants. What I will say to you is that a week ago, I watched that same Chicago team absolutely obliterate Dallas. That was the Taylor Hall hat trick game. Yeah. They beat them 6-2. And I think it was 6-1 for a while. And then Dallas got like a garbage time power play goal that was meaningless. They got the old Kyler Murray special. Oh, we're down by 35. All right, I'm going to put up a fantasy game you're going to love now.
Well, Jameis Winston experience.
Yeah, exactly. Praying to the Lord, please don't let Taylor Hall score again. But like that's how I look at it. Like you got to take these games more seriously, right? And I think that's one thing that I've seen. They are taking them seriously now. You'd prefer they didn't get in that big hole they got into, losing to all these non-playoff teams out of the gate. Jim Montgomery would still probably have his job if that didn't happen, but it happened, and now they're responding. And I think that's how you have to look at the season and look at segments of a season. Like, they are responding well to something that they were not handling well out of the gate. That's all I care about. I don't care about playoff seeding. They might not even make it. So what we're going to talk about? We're going to preview round one. They might not even be involved for all we know. So right now, in the now, I'm seeing improvement from last month to right now. That's all I care about personally. And I think, you got to bank these points away because, these teams suck, Connor, but the schedule is going to get harder. And if you're not winning those games, you're going to look back at those games and be like, oh, thank God they're still in the race because they beat Detroit and Montreal and Chicago in a 3-4 span. Like that's valuable to this team.
Yeah. And I think also in terms of like staying in the moment and not, getting caught up in absolutes, like, hell, look at last year where the Bruins were 4-0 against Florida. What'd that do to them? Like, you're like,
Meant nothing.
I feel like, especially in a sport like hockey, like dealing in absolutes is very, very short sighted because, listen, I think a lot of people want to hear, especially from us who are fortunate enough to like cover hockey for a living and, how grateful we are. At the end of the day, we can run through a whole lot of numbers. We can find trends. We can, document entire seasons worth of stuff. It's also a complete freaking crapshoot. Like that is also the one thing where I think the most important thing, you find enough traction to get into the playoffs and then you see what happens. And I know that's probably what people don't want to hear of us being like, or at least me being like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to expect. But like that's kind of just how it's been played out the last couple of years. And so I think for the Bruins, yeah, like you'd like to see them have some competitive games against teams like Florida or Carolina. Like hell, they play like Dallas again, they lose 3-2. That's a step in the right direction, right? Or outright win some of these games. You want to see that, obviously, but getting caught up in the schedule right now, when I think the most important thing is this team trending in the right direction and getting on a bit of a roll here. I think that's the biggest key, and I think so far you are seeing that from the way they have responded over these last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and the other part of it too is like, yeah, they lose to Vancouver, but did any of us have a problem with how they played in that game? I
No.
don't think so. And they just Kevin Lankinen, who is going to be representing Finland now as their number 2 goaltender behind UC Saros, who, I mean, who saw that coming? Like he had a great game, and so they got stonewalled, just like Jeremy Swayman and Jonas Korpisalo have had some great games, and they've stonewalled the other team. And so I think that like that happens over the course of 82 games, but your system, your structure, your layers, how you attacked, like that's a positive. And I feel the same way about Wednesday in Chicago, because you look at that game and they give a goal on the second shot of the game, a minute 17 in. It's the second leg of a back-to-back. It's so easy to just pack it in and say, you know what, like we don't have it. Let's save the legs. We got a brutal stretch coming up here. By this time next week, like it's easy for the mental side to take hold on the second leg of a back-to-back, but it didn't. And they rally back. They win the game 4-2. And like I thought they played. I thought their response to that bad start was really impressive. Rewatching the game this morning, like it felt like they kind of, again, it's a bad opponent. We all agree, but back-to-backs can be equalizers. They like you can lose to a shit team because it's a back-to-back with travel. But they found their legs, they found some goals, and they win the game. Like that's what's most important to me right now. Like the style points, like I think what's most important is getting results in the standings, like winning some games here, but also finding your identity and finding the mental toughness that you're going to need because you don't have the talent. We've talked about this. They don't have the talent. So you got to have that mentality and that belief within yourself and within your structure. And so I thought you saw that as that game progressed on Wednesday. That's what's most important to me right now, personally.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think a lot of positives to draw from just this overall 3-game win streak. We'll have a little bit more to talk about with Wednesday's game, Ty. Before we do that, take a quick break and hear from our good friends over at PrizePicks. The snow is falling, eggnog is flowing, the Amazon packages are piling up, and you know what that means? Hockey season is in full swing. And this December, make your holidays bigger and brighter with PrizePicks, the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. You just need to pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 200 times your cash as you run your game all season long on America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Join now because this holiday season, PrizePicks is giving away 2 free picks in December, and they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Picksmas. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. PrizePicks now offers MasterCard for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. There's really no shortage of ways to participate in PrizePicks, especially during the hockey season. And with the Bruins turning a corner, I'm buying into the holiday cheer. This week, I'm picking David Pastrnak for more than 1.5 goals and Elias Lindholm for more than 9 faceoffs won. It's really that easy. So cook up some hot takes with your friends and win real money this hockey season when you and your crew run your game on PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS on the PrizePicks app to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. Run your game. Shout out once again to our good friends over at PrizePicks. Ty, looking at that game on Wednesday, as you said, good for the Bruins for rebounding there, shaking off a bit of a slow start as you all expected. But another big takeaway I had from that game, and it's something we've talked about time and time again, when you look at some of these opponents the Bruins have played, whether it's Chicago, Detroit, it should reinforce once again that if you are a Bruins fan who want to completely blow things up and tank and try to get top 5 picks in hopes of a clean slate, be careful what you wish for, because holy shit, that Chicago team and even that Detroit team, miserable. It's not fun.
Yeah, no, I think that when it comes to the Detroit model, yeah, they've been boned by not winning the lottery. You know, like I think their highest was 4th, I want to say.
Yeah.
And they got Lucas Raymond, who's a good player, but you look at
Don't
sort
tell
of
Zadorov.
No. But you look at how they've let's just real quick. Since 2017, 9th overall, Michael Rasmussen. 2018, 6th overall, Philip Zadina, and 30th overall, Joe Villano. 2019, Moritz Seider, number 6 overall. Really good pick. I like that pick. 2020, 4th overall, Lucas Raymond. They had 3 second-round picks in 2020 as well. None of them have made the NHL yet. And that's we're almost 5 years now removed from that draft. I'm not sure if they're ever going to come over. And then 2021, 6th overall, Simone Edvinsson, who we saw on Tuesday night. And then Sebastian Kosa, the goaltender, who was backing up Ville Husso. It's hard, man. It's hard to have a rebuild, and it's hard to bank on, all those guys got to hit, right? Like, if you go through the misery of 82 games of being one of the worst teams in hockey, and you get a top 10 pick, it's got to be a major game-changing kind of presence for your team. And right now, Detroit, I don't think they're getting that. And then you've had to rely on some outside additions through free agency. You want to talk about Don Sweeney spending money down the toilet? Look at that Detroit team. Andrew Kopp is almost a $6 million 4th line center. They have Ben Sherratt. They have Jeff Petrie. They have Justin Hall. They have all these guys that you're that's not a game changer. That's not going to do anything for you. And so I think rebuilds are difficult. They're hard, and you got to knock it out of the park. And if you don't, you're just wasting everyone's time. And I think Detroit's an example of that. And Chicago, obviously they have Bedard, but you're seeing the frustration with a guy like that he has to carry the franchise at 19 years old, basically. It's not fun. It's not fun to do that. And so I think that's something that has been legit gives me. I would rather be competitive than bottom out for 5 years in a row and hope that the lottery and the lottery tickets that you buy end up working. That's just me, though. I don't like those extended rebuilds. I think they're taxing on a fan base, personally.
Yeah, and I think the problem is that it's such a crapshoot that I think teams or fans will hop on the one success story out of 8 or 9, right? Where it's I think you look at the Sharks with Celebrini, and a lot of their young guys are starting to round corners, and they're not perfect. They still got a ways to go, but it feels like they're building something there. They're in some pretty competitive games. They're beating the Capitals on the road. You like what's going on there. But for every Sharks team that, again, is going to go through its growing pains, as we all expect, right? You have the Anaheim Ducks, who've been in a longer rebuild, and that team looks miserable. They've got nothing going on there as well. You've got, as we've said, how about Buffalo, who always feels like it's their year, and then they blow a 4-0 lead to the Avalanche, right? I think you look up and down for every. It's almost like the Sharks are like the Washington Commanders, where it's everyone's see, look. And it's that doesn't happen that often. You have to have a whole lot go your way to really fall to have a turnaround. And again, that's not even set in stone. We're not expecting the Sharks this year to get 95 points, right? Like, who knows? They could take a step back next year or what have you. Yeah, I just think that aggressively retooling when that is like the most drastic thing you have to do and remaining competitive is the bigger option. You know, if you're able to keep on punching your ticket to the playoffs, within reason, right? Like, you don't want to be like the 2014 Red Wings where it's like, all right, you got like the AARP guys out there. Like, you shouldn't have like that team isn't going to go anywhere. But fully blowing things up though just doesn't seem like the best option when it really is such a crapshoot.
Yeah, and I think there are other ways to do it. Like, if you want to do like a quicker retool, and you move on from pending free agents that you're not going to sign, or guys like you want to shake up your core and you want to give a member of your core to like a win now team and you recoup some draft picks. Like, yeah, go for it. Like I think what's really interesting to me is like I look at the Dallas Stars. The Dallas Stars, I don't think have ever had like a by design, true tear it down, let's tank kind of rebuild. But what they have been able to do is that they haven't traded second round picks for pending free agents and guys that are going to be, 31-year-old 2-month fixes. Like, they haven't done that a ton. And you look at Dallas and how they've been able to be such a juggernaut. Look at their second round hits. They have been fantastic second round drafters. Rupe Hintz, Robertson. I think Stankoven was a second round pick.
I think he was a second rounder, yeah.
Like, and yeah, they knock it out of the park with Wyatt Johnson, a late first round pick. But that's on a team that's, in my opinion, who's the member of their core that is like a true lottery pick? Is it Heiskanen? I think that might be it. I think Miro Heiskanen might be the only one, because even Ottinger was a late first round pick. I think he was 20th overall or
something around there. Yeah.
So like, there are other ways to do it. The from the ground up rebuild, I hate that. I think you're asking your fans to really put everything they love on hold for half a decade, and I don't think that's ever a really sound strategy. Sometimes it's necessary, but I don't think the Bruins are near that point at all. When you have Swayman, Pasternak, and McAvoy, you got 3 foundational pieces there, where that if you are going to do that, you're much more like the Dallas Stars, who at the time had Sagan, Ben, include Ottinger, because they got him in 2017. Like you got a good foundation there, and so you just got to add to it. And so I hate from the ground up rebuilds, and I don't think that the Bruins should consider it personally.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. And it is something where you look at some of these teams. Yeah, I can't see where exactly what the next step is for a team like Chicago, unless like you get, James Higgins or something, and you keep on building it that way. But again, that is once again a crapshoot. Once it all rests on you hitting a home run with like franchise changing talent, you're set for some disappointment there, I think, if you're some of these teams. So ideally the Bruins don't bottom out to that degree moving forward. Ty, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Joe Sacco's influence on the Bruins and what how they've responded since he's taken over. Before we do that, let's take another quick break. Talk to our friends over at Game Time Tickets. It's the holiday season, and you know what that means. Christmas carols, maxing out your credit card, and of course, football. And if you're a Patriots fan and want to watch Drake May and New England try to end the year on a high note, you got to go with Game Time Tickets. There's nothing better than posting up with your buddies at Gillette for a Pats game, grilling some burgers, knocking back a few beers or cranberry soda, and cheering with the crowd whenever Drake May goes deep. And with football season in full swing, now is your time to take in the action, and Game Time Tickets will get you the best seats at the best prices to get you into Gillette. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets. Want to catch the Patriots season finale against Josh Allen and the Bills? Game Time Tickets has you covered. Game Time Tickets app makes it easy to sort through which specific game, concert, or other event you want to attend, and shows you the best spots available to take in the action. Game Time even has a new feature called Game Time Picks, which makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. So what are you waiting for? Take the guesswork out of buying football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All right, Ty, when you look at the Bruins and how they responded under Joe Sacco, Nikita Zadorov on Tuesday mentioned it kind of more doesn't involve the X's and O's, but it's more of the team kind of playing with passion and purpose and kind of rallying around one another. But I think he saw that game on Wednesday specifically as a situation where Joe Sacco seems like he's kind of pushing the right buttons when it felt like that wasn't the case with Montgomery. You saw him shuffle up the lines a little bit. It has not been the blender that I think it's been under Montgomery, where it felt like you're going to get any cohesion at all with the way these lines were going. But on Wednesday, Sacco puts Marchand, Elias Lindholm, David Pastrnak together. They score 2 goals in 2 minutes and 15 seconds. So clearly something's working there when earlier it really wasn't when Montgomery put them together. And by extension, he puts another group together, Geeky, Zacha, and Brazeau. They were kind of jumbled together when they scored Geeky's first goal, but Sacco sticks with them, and they score another goal. Geeky's got another tally. Maybe more people should yell at him on Twitter and see how that gets more out of his game. But whether it's that top 6 reshuffle, you've got the fourth line of McLaughlin, Beecher, and Kepke has been really solid in terms of shot suppression. And even I think Kastelik with Coyle and Frederick, it does seem like these recent reshuffles that aren't, a carousel of guys every single game. But these more recent tweaks seems like it's helping out all these guys getting a little bit of a groove here.
Oh yeah. I think the idea that you could shuffle the lines completely every period of every game, it's just not sustainable. Guys want to try to find some chemistry. They want to try to build. And I think you've seen that. I do think that Marchand and Lindholm are a really good combo. I think they feed off each other well. I think they're both really good at making subtle plays to maintain possession in the attacking zone. I think their coverage is good defensively in terms of knowing where to go if just one thing goes awry. They're both very smart players in that regard. So I like them as a combo. Adding Pastrnak there might free him up to kind of just be David Pastrnak, and he gets 2 assists last night. I don't think his game is back to where it needs to be fully, but that's a start, right? Getting production, that's a start for him. His game is just, I'm starting to think it's more mental than physical, to be honest with you, because he just feels like he's constantly thinking. He's thinking versus just playing. And when he plays, he's such a dynamic player, as we all know. I think it's interesting, right? He makes that extra pass to Zacha on the overtime goal on Tuesday. And I don't know about you. Mind.
I was losing. I wish there was a camera because I wish you could have seen my reaction happen. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think both of us.
They won.
I think I was already, what are you doing? And then by the time I finished that thought, the puck is in the net. So, is that the catalyst that kind of gets him going here? You wonder, because he has 2 assists the next game. Drive him to the net. I love that on the second goal, or the second Marchand goal. I love that. That's when I think he kind of, when he plays on the periphery, he's not as dynamic a player. When he gets in there, because I don't think teams expect him to, and then they kind of sleep on how strong he can be, to make plays from in tight kind of happen. So you hope he gets going there. I think Brazeau has been really good since the coaching change. I think, my big 3, so to speak, since the change would be Brazeau, Zadorov, and I would probably say Zacha. I think those 3 guys have looked substantially better since the coaching change for whatever reason. Brandon Carlo is a good guy to throw in there as well, I think. But I think there is more passion. To your original point, with Zadorov, I just think that they're playing like how they should. And that sounds so stupid, I know. But I go back to my brain. I don't know if you do this too. My brain goes back to Marchand being we're not a skill team. I don't know why we keep trying to think we're a skill team. He said that so many times in the first month of the season that you're why are you saying this so much? And now I kind of go back to him oh, maybe it makes sense now.
Yeah, no, exactly. And again, I think it's been a little bit of everything, right? I think these new lines are clicking. You have guys that as we said earlier, are inevitably getting out of these insane kind of scoring slumps that are in, or just the way their shooting percentages have regressed. Something had to give. That's not meaning that Zacha is going on a heater and he's going to have 25 goals, but the production was going to uptick at some point. You're still waiting for it from a guy like David Pastrnak, but I think it's that regression lighting it up a little bit. I think some of these lineup tweaks and keeping with some of these lines as opposed to shuffling them. That's another thing that Marchand, remember, was it the setup on Marchand's goal against Calgary? Was it after that game where Lindholm set him up? And he's like, yeah, like I like playing with Lindholm, but like, Monty likes to change the line, so who knows who I'm going to be with tomorrow. I'm like, oh, okay. Like that's another thing to take note of, right? But I think, you have that. You have also, I think, just the shot across the bow that comes when any coach gets fired, of guys kind of batting down the hatches. But I also do think it is I know Zadorov says it's not X's and O's, but I do think an emphasis on shot volume, playing to their strengths, as you said, not being a skill team, but more of a very simplified, straight, north-south, crowd the net front. I think that is the right way to do it with this personnel. So it does feel like, however you want to map it out, again, we're not saying these teams are going to go to the cup.
Yes, you are. How dare you?
Yeah. But they look like a competent hockey team, which is not what we saw for the first 6 weeks. We're like, what? That's why I think it was so shocking, right? For like those first 6 weeks of like, we don't even know what this is, like, other than it's just bad hockey, right? Like, and when I think you don't have an identity, you don't know what exactly your before the puck drops, what you need to do, the three things you have to check off to leave the ice with 2 points. I think when you have all that uncertainty or some of that, loosey-goosey kind of mindset, you have these games where we saw time and time again where not generating anything, having one shot on goal in the third period and 0 shots on goal. You're seeing, I think, less and less of that, which again, it's not perfect, but you're seeing, I think, the team show a little bit more resolve and a little bit more of, I don't know if it's confidence or what, but just an understanding of what they need to do day in and day out to put themselves in the best position to at least be competitive. And I think that this right now, where they were a few weeks ago, you'll take that.
Yeah, and I think the other part of it here too is that like they haven't changed overnight. Like they still struggle to score.
Yep.
They're still not gonna win the majority of their games 5-4. Like you're gonna see like what you saw against Detroit. 2-1. Was it 2-1? 3-2. 3-2. 3-2 overtime game. Like you're gonna see that more than you're gonna see. Say the 6-3 win against Montreal or 6-3. Like you're not going to see that all that often. So, but I think what you're seeing is that they're starting to bury their chances even just a touch more. They're like, since the coaching change, they're still bottom half of the league in terms of generating chances, high danger looks, shooting percentage, high danger shooting percentage, but they're not dead last. And that's kind of where they were prior to that. They were hovering around, fourth worst or worse. And so they're getting better in that regard. I would still make a trade, Connor. I would still see what else is out there. I'd still make a trade, try to get some more speed in this lineup, try to bring in a power play specialist. I think that's something that they're really missing, whether that's JVR at the net front or the way that DeBrusk won pucks, to keep plays alive. Like, I think they're missing a bit more power play oomph. And I would consider bringing in a forward who maybe excels on the power play, but can't give you all that much 5-on-5, because I think that you might need that lift given what we've talked about and this team being a more shot volume kind of club. And so that's still something I would do. I would still look at a shakeup kind of trade. I know they're winning games right now, so maybe they don't do that, but I think when you look at their talent and what they lack right now, you might need an extra power play punch or two. And so I would still scour the market for that kind of player if I'm the Bruins.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's, again, not perfect right now, but three wins in a row, a step in the right direction. We'll see if they continue to build off of that going into Saturday's game against the Flyers. Ty, before we wrap things up, Four Nations Face-Off announced their rosters. 4 Bruins are going to be there. Charlie McAvoy, Jeremy Swayman with Team USA, Brad Marchand with Canada, Elias Lindholm with Sweden. any surprises for you in terms of guys that didn't make the list or anything else that really stood out from those roster selections?
Yeah, my first thought was what a bummer for Hampus Lindholm that he got injured and couldn't make the roster. However, did you realize how stacked Sweden's left side is?
They're pretty scary.
He might not have made it even if he continued playing. Yeah. They have Forsling, they have Hedman, they have Dahlin, and they have Mattias Ekholm who can play left and right side. But like those are four guys right there, and I'm like, I don't know if you look at the role that he'd be asked to play, I'm like, I don't know if he's getting the nod over any of those guys.
Yeah.
So it's a bummer for him. Where do you land on the Korpisalo snub?
I mean, I don't know if it's just also like the way that the year has gone from him the previous year, but you look at the way he's playing, got 2 shutouts in however many games. Like, I thought he could have deserved recognition over. I mean, I know it was Saros, and I'm like, the thing is, I think Lankinen really catching fire probably put him in a bad spot, because I think, like, I read somewhere where other than Saros, I think Korpisalo's got the most games played by a Finnish goalie right now. So, I mean,
yeah, he does.
Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, like, I don't know how much you're gonna like draw out of his numbers. It's kind of the same with like Sam Montembeault in Montreal, where it's like, all right, is this guy's numbers really like this, or is it because he's got nothing in front of him? So maybe that is also something that they had to factor in, but it is kind of a tough break, because I think he's a guy that has really flown under the radar this year in terms of being a competent, solid goalie. Maybe it's a guy like Luukkonen shouldn't have been in that mix, but I think what really kind of hurt him was that Kevin Lankinen just decided to become unstoppable, especially on the road. He might win every game because he's not going to be playing games in Vancouver during this tournament. I mean, he's been nuts for the Canucks so far.
Yeah, I wonder with Luukkonen, I wonder if there's an element here of like, you want to get him in your program and you want him to maybe learn from a guy like Saros. I mean, Saros is only 29, but by the next Olympics, maybe he's not the same guy, and now he's a backup, and they want to give Luukkonen the experience of like, hey, this is your national team. This is who you're going to be playing with. Like, you're the guy moving forward. So I guess it makes sense in that regard. Yeah, but to your point, another number with Korpisalo here is he has the 4th best high danger save percentage in the NHL right now, 855. That's among all goalies, let alone just Finnish goalies. And so, his save percentage is 909, which is 17th best among guys that have at least 8 games played. You look at his goals against average, I think that's top 10 right now in the NHL. So a little surprising in that regard. However, if I'm looking at this from a Bruins scope, Swayman's making Team USA. If Korpisalo made Team Finland, and let's say injuries happen or they catch fire, okay, now they're playing more games. I'm kind of okay with the Bruins having just one goalie who could potentially play in this tournament, not 2, to avoid potential burnout for those guys down the stretch. So if I'm looking at it from a Bruins scope, I'm saying this might be better for the Bruins to have him get some rest, get some vacation time, just get away, versus having to potentially play games in a tournament that does not benefit the Bruins outside of selling more hot dogs at TD Garden.
Yes. I also do think if Korpisalo made the team, as you say, with the high danger save percentage, it'd be just like Quinn Hughes and Adam Fox and Zach Werenski just firing shots from the blue lines. Like, we know how to beat this guy.
Right.
Like, this guy, anything at the crease, anything in the low slot, he's going to stop. But just fire anything from the blue line. We got a shot. That's pretty much the way it's gone for Korpisalo. But yeah, I agree. Tough break. But again, I could see the way like you lose out on the numbers game there. And it's the same thing where, even as you said, I think with Lindholm, it has more to do with injury, but that blue line's pretty stacked. A lot of people are looking at like USA and Canada justifiably as the 2 big dogs there, but that Sweden team, I look at them, I'm like, that's just every year, whatever the tournament is for Sweden, it's always like, they got depth, they got impact guys all across the lineup too. That's a good team, which means that Finland's going to win. Like, out of all these groups, it'll be Finland that wins, but.
Yeah, I am dying to know how, moving from Finland to Sweden here, dying to know how Team Sweden is going to use Elias Lindholm. You look at their roster; they have Elias Pettersson, they have Joel Eriksson Ek, they have Mika Zibanejad, and they have William Karlsson, who's been one of the best centers this year in terms of winning faceoffs, I believe.
Yeah.
Do they move Lindholm to the wing like they did in Vancouver? I wonder, because Eriksson Ek, I'm not moving him out of center. Pettersson,
Nope.
I'm not moving him on a center. I don't think Zibanejad even has ever played the wing, to be honest with you. So you're not moving him. So is it Karlsson or is it Lindholm who moves to the wing? I have a feeling it's probably going to be Elias Lindholm. But how do they use him? What's his role? Can this tournament be good for him to get his game going in the right direction? Not that he's playing poorly, but like point-wise. Can he get some offensive timing back? Because he's a player that I believe has posted really good numbers internationally. I would have to go back and double check, but I feel like I looked at his international numbers and I was like, oh, wow, he shows up for Sweden. Could that be something that kind of gets him going and gets his game trending back in the right direction for the Bruins? Because Lindholm he wasn't on that World Cup of Hockey team in 2016. Hampus Lindholm was, but he wasn't. Hampus Lindholm was a replacement for, oh God, who was it? Veteran Swedish defense. Was it Edler? I can't remember. Anyways, but he was super young when he made it. Elias Lindholm did not make that team. So I'm curious to see how he plays and what he does. I think Swayman, I don't think we're going to see him personally. Maybe you see him in like a qualifier game or whatever, or a round play, whatever they do. But I mean, that's
Hellebuck and Ottinger.
I mean, they've been incredible, right? And so Charlie McAvoy, what's his deployment like? I'm excited. I mean, the bummer for me here, man, like the gigantic bummer in all
David
of this.
Pasternak's just going to be in like Antigua during it.
Yeah, like it sucks. That sucks for them. That sucks for the Czechs. It sucks for guys like even the Germans. You know what I mean? Like you look at German, like they have Stützle, they have Draisaitl, they have Seider, they have Grubauer. Like they got guys. You know what I mean? Like not enough to field a roster full of NHL players, I know, but they got players. And so for those guys to have to be on the sidelines here, I think especially for Pastrnak and Sacco, it's in their building, it's in their city. That really sucks for them. And I think the other part that I'm not looking forward to is just like I want to see the Russians. I understand the politics, I understand all of that, but like you look at the team that Russia could put out there, like what would be better if you got problems with them politically? I know that we're going down a road here that sucks. I understand that.
Yeah. What's
better than beating them? If you got problems with them, and everything, like what's better than beating them? That's like the whole thing about Miracle. like I don't know. Like we're getting away from that, man.
We need to show Gary Bettman and the IOC just Miracle on repeat. Like, guys,
money. I'm telling you, money.
They bring in Mickey Mouse, like a guy in Mickey Mouse costume. Like we got all we need right here, guys. Like we don't need to overthink this.
Oh, it's so annoying too, because like you look at some of the Russian players and how they're getting older, and it's like I don't know how much more how much longer you're going to see some of these guys on the international stage. And so that's the one bummer for this tournament for me, is that I feel like you're knocking other nations in their hockey skill when they're kind of on the rise, or this could be their swan song. And so I want, like, personally, international play, I want every country involved. It's just how I feel.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think if this Four Nations face-off is a good precursor and gets people excited for what's to come in 26, then I think it'll be a win for right now. But yeah, it is a bummer to see David Pastrnak not taking part in it, but we'll see how it all plays out. Ty, before we let you go, where can we read your stuff? Where can we hear you on the airwaves? All that good stuff.
I'm sorry for talking so much today. I feel like I got a lot of opinions, man.
Yes, that is fine. We want that.
Yeah, you can find me on 95 Sports Hub, 95sportshub.com. You can also hear me on The Hockey Show every Saturday morning from 9 to 11 a.m. This week, we're going to have Bob Beers and Ryan Johnson in studio for the first hour. We'll catch up with Billy Jaffe in the second hour. And then a short Gasper and Murray leading you right into Bruins pregame. Bruins and Flyers at TD Garden. You can catch that game on 98.5 The Sports Hub and on the app as well. So yeah, that's where you can find me. How about yourself?
Yeah, you can read my stuff over at Boston.com and the Boston Globe. We have covered every step of the way this season with recaps, features, columns, breakdowns, all that good stuff. You want to follow me on Twitter, X, whatever it's called, you can over at Conor Ryan _93. So this was Poke the Bear, episode 284. I'm Conor Ryan. That's Ty Anderson. You fans have a great rest of your week.